Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2020 Ford F-150, we're going to be showing you how to install the CURT Class IV trailer hitch receiver. But before we do that, why don't we check this out and make sure it's the right hitch for you. Having a trailer hitch on a pickup truck, just makes sense, right? Looks right at home. And it's really going to be able to open up your opportunities on what you're going to be able to do. You know, whether you're trying to pull a trailer around, which I'm sure is what most of you are trying to accomplish, but it can also let you use accessories if you want to. I know every now and again I see bike racks and cargo carriers and things like that on the back of trucks, so the hitch is going to allow you to get them things done as well. So one thing that's probably important to a lot of people is the weight capacities, right? What can this hitch handle? And it's going to have some pretty good numbers. Maximum gross tongue weight is going to be 1,000 pounds. That's going to be the amount of weight pushing down on the hitch. And maximum gross trailer weight rating, that's going to be 10,000 pounds, or the amount of weight that is pulling on the hitch. So that's the weight of your trailer plus anything that you might have on it. This can be used with the weight distribution system, which is a separate component. And what happens whenever you use that, it's going to keep your truck and your trailer level whenever you're going down the road. So those are pretty popular on like big campers and things of that nature. So if that's what you plan on doing, might be worth checking out. But if you do use that, the capacities do increase a little bit. Tongue weight rating will go up to 1,200 pounds and trailer weight rating will go up to 12,000 pounds. With all that said though, I do always like to recommend, it's never a bad idea just to check in your truck's owner's manual. That way you can make sure you can pull that much weight safely. This is going to have the 2" by 2" opening, so super common size, and use the standard 5/8 pin and clip. The safety chain openings, they're not huge, but I kind of like them actually. I feel like they're just the right size, and they'll allow us to use pretty much any size hook that our trailer might have on it. I'll go ahead and give you a couple of measurements. That way you can use these to help figure out which hitch mounted accessories will work best. From the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening, that's going to be about 20 inches. So you can probably get away with using a ball mount that has a drop in the shank. Probably 2 to 4 inches for most people will be adequate. From the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of the rear bumper, that's going to be about 4 inches. And you can use that measurement to help figure out that if you happen to have any folding type accessories, if they can be stored in the upright position without hitting the back bumper. A hitch you really can't go wrong with. You know, it's a good all-around hitch. It's going to work for a lot of different things. I think it looks pretty good too. It kind of has a glossy black finish. There's an eTrailer hitch available that's pretty much the same thing. It just has more of a matte black finish. I kind of favor that one a little bit more in terms of appearance, but you know, it's just all personal taste and whatever you like the most. As far as getting the hitch installed, really not too bad. You drop your spare tire down to give you some more room, get your hardware in the frame, and kind of bolt everything up. So not a whole lot to it, and it's definitely something you can do at home. But speaking of that, why don't we go ahead and put the hitch on together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be underneath the back of our truck, and first thing you want to do is just temporarily remove the spare tire. Just gives you a lot more room to work. Once the hitch and everything's on, we'll put the spare tire back in. But with that done, first thing we're going to do is come over to our passenger side frame rail, and we're going to remove a small bolt that's holding a ground wire on. So if you look right here, this is that bolt I was talking about. That's going to have a 10mm head, so we'll go ahead and pull it out. Then we can just take the ground wire and just kind of tuck it up and out of the way for now. Now moving over to the driver's side frame rail, if you've got these wiring connectors on the frame, I'm just going to pull them off, just give us more space. Take a trim tool or flathead screwdriver and just get behind them there and pop them off. And I'll go ahead and take this one off too, just in case. Clean this area off here where you can see it's there's a small indentation in the frame. So use some alcohol or brake cleaner or whatever you got. And then you're going to take a U-shaped spacer block and put some tape on it. And we're going to tape this to this area about like that. I want to mention as well, from this point on, anything we do to this side of our truck, we're also going to do to the other side, because it'll be set up the same way. And by taping this up here, it just makes it so much easier to get the hitch up in place and not have to hold this little part. And obviously you want to cut out the tape where our hardware is going to go through. So cut that out, and then where our ground cable screw back into, cut that little portion out as well. Now we can work on getting our hardware inside of the frame rail. So we're going to have 2 attachment points. Obviously this one here, and then this hole there. And we'll start with this one. What you're going to do is take the fish wire, take the coiled end, put it through there towards the front of the truck, and we're going to use this hole as the access hole. So we'll pull that out. Then you're going to take a spacer block, put that on, and then a carriage bolt. That carriage bolt will thread onto it. You can feed this hardware in. We're going to pull it out and make sure everything's good, but we'll just barely push it back into the frame. That way when we put our hitch up, it's not going to interfere or anything. For this one, you're going to take the coiled end, put it in, and drop it straight down, essentially, right through here. You can pull it out, because there's a slot at the end of our frame rail. And so same deal, spacer block, carriage bolt, and we'll get that threaded on. And kind of feed this up. And a lot of times you might have to take the carriage bolt and put it head first in there, because it's a little bit tighter. We'll go ahead and do the same thing. Take another spacer block, and on the hole closest to the front of the vehicle, you're going to tape it to the outside of the hitch, just like we did the other ones. Cut that hole out in the middle there so you can pass the hardware through. Now with the next set of hands, you can take our hitch and get it into position. So you're going to take the pull wires and run them through the appropriate holes in the hitch. And we'll go ahead and start to raise it up. Once they're lined up, you can take your pull wires and pull the bolts through the hitch. And once both of them are through, you can remove one of the pull wires, take a flange nut, and we'll get it once started on each side, hand tight. That way the hitch will support itself while we work on the rest of the bolts. Once you have the rest of the flange nuts on, come back over to the passenger side, and you want to take this extra bolt that they give you and start to run this through your ground wire. And it's pretty tight. You might have to use a tool or socket, just kind of run it through. But the reason we're doing this now is because you can kind of shift the hitch one way or another. And I want to make sure that this is lined up before I tighten these bolts down, because sometimes what can happen is you tighten them down and then you can't get this in. So we'll make sure we can get this in, get it started. And tighten it down. And now we can come back with all of our hardware in place and snug down our flange nuts using a 15/16 size socket. Now we need to make sure to come back with a torque wrench and tighten down all the hardware to the amount specified in our instructions. If you don't have a torque wrench, you can always get one here at eTrailer, or a lot of times you go to your local auto parts store and they'll have one there available to rent. So now I just went ahead and took our wiring that we popped off and just plugged that back in to re-secure it. And really all that's left to do from here is get our spare tire back into place. And just to kind of give you a visual, as you can see, our spare tire goes right back up into place without any issues. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the CURT Class IV trailer hitch receiver on our 2020 Ford F-150.